Grace and peace. Welcome to Find the Intersection. It's Monday. We start a new week. It's actually the week preceding Pentecost. And so this week's passages all have to do with that theme of Pentecost. So kind of giving you a heads up where the intersections are all lining up. But today we're going to be in John chapter 14, verses 8 to 17, and then also 25 and 27 are optional passages to be included. So the context of this week's, of today's passage is the upper room. And Jesus is giving the farewell discourse. Just prior to this, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Just prior to this, earlier in the chapter, the first few verses, he says, I'm going away, in my Father's house are many rooms. And so the context is this farewell. These are Jesus's final teachings. And Philip, the first thing that I noticed in this passage or stood out to me was this connection between God the Father and Jesus. And Philip asks the question, show us the Father. And Jesus replies, well, haven't you seen me? You've seen the Father. If you know me, you know the Father. There's this, the Father, Jesus is the Father, and the Father is love. This whole identity that leads us closer to the Trinity as we continue in this journey. So Jesus is a perfect representation of who the Father is, right? And Philip was a little slow, and I think at times we're a little slow, right? The second thing that jumped out to me is the reference to greater things, that we're going to do greater things than what Jesus even did. And I think the greater things are the mission of the church. So what did Jesus do? Jesus fed the hungry. Jesus healed the sick. He removed dis-ease from people who were hurting, and he commanded us to love. And so we, as his followers, are commanded to do greater things than those things, which is really the mission of the church, right? And the third thing that stood out to me, and the emphasis of this passage as we are headed to Pentecost, is the Holy Spirit as God's advocate. It's interesting, the word advocate and the word adversary are opposites. So Satan comes from the word adversary, or that's what the word Satan means. And so advocate, which is the Holy Spirit, is opposite. Just an interesting little nugget that I came across this morning in my studies. An advocate gives support to specifically people who are marginalized. An advocate is someone who comes alongside of you when you're in the midst of a trial. Reminds me of what our Peace Crew does with children who are abused, and goes into court as a representation and advocate for the child, which is what the Holy Spirit does for us. And so these ideas in this farewell discourse really are there to encourage us as followers in this time of Pentecost, that the Holy Spirit has come to be our advocate, to walk alongside of us in the midst of trials as we collectively participate in the greater things, the mission of the church. So, hey, that's what I got. What did you get today? What were some of the things that stood out to you? And we should share them in the comments. I'd appreciate it. And I'll be back tomorrow as we do Romans chapter 8, verses 14 and 17. Have a great week, everybody. Here in Muncie, the sun is shining for a change, so we're pretty excited about that. Enjoy your day. Grace and peace, everyone.